Hi, I'm Simon Fowler from Chilwell Farm.
Hi, I'm Robin Fowler.
I'm Andrew Fowler, owner and director of Chilwell Farms.
And I'm Mary Fowler, Andrew's wife, and we farm 90 kilometres east of Esperance with Simon and Robin.
My dad started Chilwell. When he was still in Vietnam, he was applying for CP blocks, and Dad cleared that block and the majority of two other blocks between 1970 and probably 1978, 79. I went to boarding school with my brothers, and I suppose the farm at that stage was about 10,000 acres. I came back to the farm business in '96 from Muresk. I think the biggest crop we ever grew was 1,000 tonnes of feed barley. And it was basically a wool operation. But it was at that time where there was a sort of a wave of momentum in Esperance and a transition to no-till farming. And that concept and that mindset of adapting, using new ideas and technology and adapting and evolving is what's enabled us to remain profitable as cost structures change.
I finished the Muresk Bachelor of Agribusiness course in 1998. And then came home to the farm and have really enjoyed it. Andrew was home on the farm when I got back from Muresk, and we ran the farm, the home farm together, and shared duties. And since then, as the business has grown, we've split off into managing our own separate parts of the enterprise.
So I moved to Chilwell in 2001. I met Andrew in Brussels in 2000 when he was doing a Nuffield scholarship. So currently I spend, probably 40% of my time in the office doing actuals, paying bills and doing the budget. On the other 60% of the time I'm mum to 4 kids. Robin and I have been working on the payroll over the last 3 years. Robin has taken that over 100%, I would say now.
Help Simon out on the farm with the livestock when he needs extra hand, and I am in the office doing payroll and safety.
To have livestock in our system is something that I really enjoy, and I'm lucky that I can focus on livestock and Andrew can focus on the cropping. So to make sure that running livestock is just as profitable as the cropping operation is really important. Currently we lease about 70% of our farmed area and own about 30%. That hasn't been a management decision to lease more than purchase, more an opportunity of what's available. But having a large percentage of the lease really means we have to make every hectare profitable, and that's why we really focus on running a high stocking rate, high return livestock program. I've had a couple of goals. One is to keep the stocking rate quite high, above district average, and we've got lots of tools to do that. The second part of that, ensuring it's profitable, is maximising the sale value of all our outgoing animals. One of the challenges to our livestock operation is pasture quality. We are running a pasture canola wheat rotation, and which is removing most of the grasses from the pasture, which can have the potential to reduce the carrying capacity of the country. For that reason, we seed 25 to 30% of our pasture program with tetraploid ryegrass. The ryegrass is critical in the grazing, in our grazing system for finishing animals. So we're getting really good growth rates on crossbred lambs and on steers when they're grazing ryegrass. So to be able to finish lambs on grass or steers on grass, it needs to be high quality, and that's what we're getting with our tetraploid ryegrasses. They're also a really important part of our weaning management. Our cattle are a very profitable part of the operation, as we can run them at quite a high stocking rate compared to the sheep. Our cattle operation consists of 2,000 breeding cows and 1,000 steers, which we grass finish for Woolworths, and 700 cull heifers, which we grass finish for Woolworths. Our calving period is March, April, and that calving period is designed around meeting our grass finish market for Woolworths in the following September. We've been involved in an AI trial which was funded by MLA and run by our local grower group, A-Sheep. The trial was a fixed time AI trial, and for us the main outcomes have been a really reduced calving window and really reduced calving problems and really improved heifer remating results. So that has been a real win for our cattle operation. Genetics is Angus cattle. We started with a Hereford base 20 years ago, and we've used Angus bulls ever since. So that's why we still have a little bit of Hereford coming through in the cattle, and we're targeting animals with good fats, which are well suited to that grass finishing market. One of our recent successes has been with our level of dark cutters that we're getting in the steers. Used to be running at about 50 dark cutters per 1,000. Through the use of a magnesium, calcium and salt mix, we've got that down to about 2 steers per 1,000. We use ryegrass to cut about 700 hectares for silage a year to produce between 10 and 15,000 tonnes of silage. This is fed out to our steers and our heifers through the summer months and to our cows during the calving window. And we also bale about 6,000 bales of barley straw to feed the cows during the summer period.
You know, we try to pull all the levers, and so we, I remember when we started putting in the grazing crops in a significant way into the program back in 2010, and Simon and myself made the decision that we would carry the same number of stock and crop 30% more of the farm.
We graze all the crops on the farm, wheat, barley, canola, and every year. On really wet years when we don't need to do it, we won't do it so much, and on dry years we'll probably push it a bit harder to let the pasture get away. Crop grazing is very handy, being able to lamb down on pastures and then move them onto crops for 6 to 8 weeks and give the pastures a spell. It really helps the system. We couldn't run the livestock that we run in the numbers that we run without it. It wouldn't work.
And the growth rates we're getting from our lambs at this time of year, grazing wheat and canola, are really impressive.
So the real benefits of the crop grazing for the pastures is that they get a spell for 5 or 6 weeks. So the pastures are able to then keep up with the higher stocking rate that we aim for. And we're trying to do that in a way that minimises the potential for grain yield to be decreased.
We start crop grazing mid-June, depending on the season, which this year was mid-June, and depending on the wheat, you've sort of got to do a bit of a pick test and make sure it's not snapping off and they're not going to pull it out of the ground. So obviously we have to watch the timing. Canola, it can flower a bit and it's not too critical, but end of July we have to get them off. That's the end date. And the wheat and barley, once it reaches Z31, then we've got to pull them off.
The critical aspect for crop grazing is finding out when we're going to be at Z30, and the only way to tell is to cut open the oldest, most mature stem of the plant and cut it open and see if you're looking for the hollow stem as it's starting to move away and that node starting to push up.
We're currently running 22,000 ewes, 6,500 ewe hoggets and 5,500 new season crossbred lambs. We do a split lambing, so we do a March-April lamb for the crossbreds and we do a June-July lamb for the merinos. All our ewes are merino-based ewes. We use our cull merinos to produce our crossbred lambs, which are dropped in March and April. So these ewes are run on stubbles over the summer, and then we save wheat stubbles for them to lamb on. By the time they finish lambing, we have ryegrass paddocks available for grazing, which are seeded in April. So they're grazing ryegrass by middle of May, and then by first week of June, the ewes and crossbred lambs go out onto canola, and then generally by second or third week of June, the ewes and lambs go out into Illabo wheat. These lambs are finished on ryegrass pastures, generally at about 42 kilos. The target market for these lambs is the early sucker market, and we aim to hit the market in first week of August each year. Our livestock team use AgriWeb as our livestock tracking tool, and that's been highly successful in tracking animal movements, particularly with our crop grazing program. Really important for our record keeping. It's also a great tool for keeping track of our animal health operations. We also use WhatsApp as a communication device with our livestock team, and a great way of communicating between the cropping managers and the livestock managers. Really useful for communicating chemical withholding periods, grazing dates, fertiliser applications, so that there's no confusion when stock need to go in and out of paddocks. Shearing's a spring shearing. We're cutting about 1,200 bales of wool a year, which is a significant part of our wool income. I love our sheep feedlot. It's a really critical part of our operation. We finish all our own merino weather lambs, and we purchase about 15,000 lambs as well to finish through the feedlot. We're using a silage barley lupin ration. They're getting a kilo of silage, a kilo of caustic soda treated barley, and 400 grams of either lupins or faba beans a day. That's fed out fed out daily in a ration using a Keenan wagon. So we do a morning feed in a long trough, which is a mining 600mm mining pipe cut in half. We're feeding the lambs for on average 45 days and producing a 22 to 23 kilo carcass for Walsh's. We're getting good growth rates, 300 grams per head per day from most of our lambs. So making a reasonable profit as well as adding good value to our own produced lamb. We've been using the FarmBot water management system in our feedlots. It allows us to have control 100% of the time on our water levels and monitor any leakages with the ability of the system to alarm us if the water flow rate is excessive.
From a cash flow point of view, it's really important to have the livestock and the cropping together. As most cropping farmers know, harvest is it, and that's 3 months of the year where the money comes in and the rest of the year the money goes out.
We're trying to focus on the synergies between livestock and cropping, and you can get hung up by the things that conflict. We focus really strongly on the synergistic things, the way that we can graze crops to spell the pastures, to put more nitrogen in the soil because the clover grows better. So it's a system, whole of farm view that we take to make that all happen, because the farm's expanded and we can't physically manage everything ourselves. We've got a really good core team of managers.
It sort of happened gradually, so we could sort of just do sort of steps at a time. We support each other and share the workload.
As the farm's grown, we've grown. I think that's it's not just been massive.
Not just jumped in at the deep end much.
The size of our farm is a bit of a challenge. We've always sort of tried to focus on safety, but as our staff numbers have got a lot larger, we realise that it's just something that we really need to concentrate on. We use ProcessWorks for our human resources, so when we're getting new employees, and we also use them more now for safety and help us with advice and things like that.
Our goal for the future in farming is to keep doing what we're doing. We both still enjoy it. We enjoy farming with Simon and Robin, and I think we've got 4 children, and Simon and Rob have got 3, so hopefully between all of us there'll be a few farmers to follow in our footsteps.
We're really proud of what we've achieved so far and enjoy what we've achieved, and like to think that the next generation can get the same enjoyment out of it, so that's where we're headed.